I want to see what's going on.
Oh, Jesus. So we've got the red velvet.
Mom Mary makes all of our desserts.
Mum Mary.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you, babe.
You're welcome.
Wow. That is delicious. Finally. Some good fucking food. Wow.
How do you like this?
Yeah, it's delicious. Well done. Wow.
Yeah, this video is about 3 months late. And yeah, I know the audio in the next section is about as high quality as this godforsaken movie, but I'm too lazy to re-record it. In what world did any of us think that this would be good? There were so many red flags that were just ignored, there were too many to count. And I'm guilty of this. When I first heard that there was going to be a standalone Venom movie, I practically had a stroke. Plus the fact that it would essentially be the Iron Man 1 to this new series of Spider-Man related movies sent me over the edge. But then we found out that Spider-Man would have nothing to do with this universe. This is the dumbest thing you could have possibly done. Why are you making a cinematic universe based on a character you cannot legally use in said universe?
Forget about it. I'm just going home.
Okay. Maybe they'll start off with a character that doesn't have a lot of connections to Spider-Man.
Oh my god, what the fuck is that, bro?
Now I know how DC fans feel. My favorite comic character is slowly burning in front of my eyes and there's nothing I can do about it. A spaceship full of symbiotes. Oh, sorry.
We call them symbiotes.
Symbiotes. How silly of me. Crash lands in Malaysia.
I blew up Malaysia.
Who were then swiftly picked up by the Life Foundation, led by generic supervillain Carlton Drake. Drake is generic because he is a combination of the two supervillain cliches, evil corporation CEO, and later the evil version of the hero. It's been run into the ground at this point, and it's my main issue with superhero movies now. Could it not hurt you to be a little more original when coming up with a villain? Because they're just a mirror image of the hero, they end up being bland and having little to no personality other than I'm you but evil. Moving on, one of the symbiotes, never gonna get used to that, inhabits and kills multiple people before heading off on her own. Then, we're introduced to Eddie Brock, investigative reporter.
I'm a reporter.
He's a complete dick. I mean, he was a corrupt journalist in the comics, so I understand that. But much like the White Spider on Venom's chest, his character arc is nowhere to be seen. He never learns a thing. People confront him and call him out, but he never changes. For instance, say that you look at your fiance's secret files without her permission and use them to expose a CEO. This ends up failing, gets you and your fiance fired, she breaks up with you and hates your guts. You'd imagine that she'd never love you again, right?
Not gonna happen!
So then, we're back at the Life Foundation, 6 months later, and Drake has been trying to bond humans with
Symbiote.
This guy walks in and looks understandably scared. He's locked in the testing chamber, and Drake asks for his name. He responds with, Isaac. Drake replies, Isaac? That's a biblical name.
And let me see what you have!
A metaphor.
He explains the metaphor. Any sort of subtlety has just been thrown out the window. The audience isn't that dumb. They can notice some cool little references here and there without it being jammed down our throats. Isaac is never mentioned again, so what was the point? We now see where Eddie has been for the past 6 months, scrounging around for cash and drinking a whole lot. A guy asks him, hey, are you Eddie Brock? And he replies, I used to be. No, you still are. What?
I gotta leave.
Fast forward a bit, and Eddie is approached by Dr. Skirth of the Life Foundation, who needs Eddie's help because shit's fucked and she needs his help to unfuck shit. After snooping around the Life Foundation HQ for a bit, he gets attacked by one of the test subjects. He escapes and Drake sends out mercenaries to retrieve what Eddie stole, spoiler, it's Venom, and chases down Eddie on his bike. The sequence goes on for far too long and it involves drones that explode on impact. I couldn't make this up if I tried. And so, for fuck's sake, I've been watching this shitey movie for what feels like an hour at this point and I haven't even seen Venom. I doubt he's even going to show up after this awful Up until this point, it feels like they just had no ideas and just shat out any random thing they could. They had the perfect origin story in the comics, but that would have to include Spider-Man, so whoops. We had to go through so much garbage to actually get to Venom that I didn't even mention, like nuggets, lobsters, and bad acting.
Host, I don't want to see you again unless you have.
After fighting off the mercenaries as the fully formed Venom, the symbiote introduces itself as Venom to Eddie. You couldn't even get that right? Okay, this is about to get confusing. This is not Venom. This is Venom. Not this. When the symbiote bonds with Eddie, it makes Venom. Venom is the new being created from them. It's symbiosis, it's in the name. Granted, the symbiosis isn't perfect, which is why we have Venom calling itself we instead of I, but that kind of proves my point even more. The fact that it's Eddie and the symbiote together which make Venom. So you have I am Venom, but also we are Venom. That makes no sense, what the fuck. That was just me being pedantic, but you get my drift. The symbiote explains that the comet that it and the other symbiotes were riding was looking for planets that contained life that they can possess and devour. I hope they understand and explain why Venom was banished from this group. It offers to spare Brock from being eaten if he helps the symbiotes take over Earth. Eddie has come to enjoy the powers that the symbiote has given him, and accepts. So, the genocide of the human race is okay when you have a cool black suit, yeah! But before all that, Eddie tries to turn in some evidence of Drake's crimes, and this is also the point at which the Venom symbiote decides that it kinda doesn't want to eat Earth for some reason. But before that, he gets surrounded by a SWAT team and is forced to take them out. Eddie and the symbiote's relationship has been really rocky so far, but they're able to come up with snappy one-liners because, I don't know, for whatever reason Anne Weying is there, and instead of going, oh shit, oh fuck, get away from me you monster, she tells him to go to the hospital. Yeah, take me to the hospital. I've got a bad case of dangerous and bloodthirsty intergalactic alien. Get your top surgeons on the job. So on the car journey to Anne's new doctor boyfriend, she asks if the symbiote has any weaknesses, and it just tells Eddie all of its most deadly weaknesses.
You what?
You fucking spanner. What else is she going to do with this information? Keep in mind that it has been established at this point that the symbiotes need a host to survive and cannot live otherwise. So why are you giving this random woman information which is going to lead to your own death?
What the fuck is this?
So Anne and her new doctor boyfriend Dan use an MRI machine to try and separate the symbiote from Eddie. It works like a charm and they lock the symbiote in the MRI room. It seemed like Eddie and the symbiote were finally getting along, having some banter along the way, but now Eddie puts it on blast, calling it a parasite. And this starts the very funny reoccurring joke of the Venom symbiote being annoyed at being called a parasite. So he hated the symbiote, liked it, and now hates it within the space of an hour or two. You're snapping back and forth so much I thought I was watching Whiplash. However, the symbiote escapes through an air vent and attaches itself to a dog. Why are there always cute dog scenes in so many movies? Which then finds its way to Anne. Cut to Eddie, and he's captured by Roland Treese and his mercenaries. He's taken to the Life Foundation to be interrogated on the whereabouts of the symbiote. Eddie complains that he doesn't know and is glad, stating that he's sick of having an alien up his butt. His words, not mine, he actually says that. Carlton Drake steps into the room and asks Eddie again. He responds by telling him to piss off or something, and Drake transforms into Riot. The Riot symbiote has been body hopping all over Malaysia just to get back to the Life Foundation. For 6 months, mind you, it took you that long to find a fucking airport. Which reminds me, of all symbiotes that could have been the antagonist, you chose Riot. Riot is the least interesting symbiote of them all. In his first appearance in the comics, he doesn't say a word. He doesn't even show up that often. Here are all the panels he's in. Blink and you miss it. You had 5 of the Life Foundation symbiotes to choose from, and you picked Grey Venom. He has no character. He was only meant to be a faceless, nameless bad guy for Spider-Man and Venom to beat up. Why not choose the most famous of the 5, Scream, who actually has a character? After being exposed to the symbiote for too long, it caused her to go insane and kill her 4 comrades, but not before begging Eddie to help her understand and control her symbiote. She was in over her head. That would have been a far better story than the trash we actually have. Carlton Drake attempts to control and harness beings far too powerful to be contained, and it ends up blowing up in his face. But fuck it, let's get the symbiote to call Eddie a pussy. After getting no answers out of Eddie, Drake sees it fit to execute him. Eddie remarks that Drake has had an alien up his butt too. Remember when this movie was said to be a dark horror comedy? Well, it is dark, mainly because I actually can't see anything that's happening, and the comedy comes from the piss-poor execution of everything.
Unless you have Brock.
But before Treese can take the shot, Venom takes all the mercenaries out, biting off their heads in the process, and surprise, it's She-Venom! Remember her? Remember the really cool storyline that comes with her? Fuck that. Watch Anne transfer the symbiote to Eddie through a kiss. Did a horny 15-year-old write this? This is the type of shit an edgy fanfiction writer would come up with on Wattpad. No doubt so many edgy 14-year-olds got their rocks off with this one.
She-Venom hot. Google images.
Now Eddie and the symbiote are back together, completely ignoring the drama they had in the MRI room like it never happened. The Venom symbiote explains that Riot and Drake are going to board a rocket that the Life Foundation has developed to bring back millions of symbiotes to Earth, a full-scale invasion. The symbiote states that it was its original plan, but has reconsidered because of its relationship with Eddie. It explains that it was essentially the runt of the group that was taken in by Drake. The symbiote wanted to bond with its host instead of devouring them like others, and was banished as a result. It identifies with Eddie because Eddie was banishing away too. It's admittedly a very heartfelt scene. I'm fucking joking, this is what he actually says.
On my planet, I am kind of a loser, like you.
The people who defend this movie sees this line as a good character moment, the symbiote completing its character arc, but it just looks tacked on, like the creators ran out of time and realised their characters were just cardboard cutouts of their comic counterparts, so they slapped it on last minute. The symbiote and Eddie start to make their way towards the rocket, but Riot has already started its way towards it. After a cheesy but admittedly fun line, Venom blocks the path of Riot.
Venom, get in the rocket. No.
Mission Control, we have a belligerent dumbass here that won't cooperate.
So I guess now is a good time to talk about the CGI. It's not good. You can usually tell when something's CGI, but you can suspend your disbelief enough to ignore it. It only becomes an issue when it's so clearly shit. I got flashbacks to Black Panther, especially in this fight scene, where it's just two PS3 characters smacking each other around. I'd argue that it's even worse here, because Drake and Eddie's symbiotes are constantly changing forms, and even losing their form towards the end, just becoming a massive goo, so it's really hard to follow what's going on. Plus, the sequence takes place at night. Venom and Riot are black and grey, making it almost impossible to distinguish them from the night sky, let alone from each other. The fight could have given us some good back and forth between Venom and Riot, about whether the human race is worth sacrificing or whatever. In the script, I wouldn't be surprised if it just read they fight, because there is no tension whatsoever. And the symbiote dies? Are you seriously trying to make me believe that the Venom symbiote died? There has not been enough character development between Eddie and the symbiote for this scene to have any impact, and I know that the interactions between them were basically the best moments, but it was mostly for humour. There were no moments of them actually getting along and understanding each other. That is, until the loser scene,
Like you.
but again, it's tacked on and it has no weight behind it. Plus, Eddie fucking hated it. He was basically Venom's bitch, only being dragged along for the ride until the end. I did not believe for a second that the symbiote died, especially since this is the first in the series of movies. So it's some time later, and Eddie and Anne are talking about the events which just took place, about Venom, Drake, the Life Foundation, and the kiss they had in the woods. Ad seems to have enjoyed it and still loves Eddie. Did the past few months not happen? Do you remember when Eddie went through your computer without your consent, blasted Drake with evidence that he did not get legally, getting him and you fired after you specifically told him not to pull that shit? Anyway, Venom's back, Stan Lee cameo, Parasite, and it ends with the shot from the trailer. The end. Was it fun? Well, at parts. The lobster scene was pretty goofy. Was it good? Fuck no. What did you expect from every fucking...